What's up guys? So today we're going through 12.7 and we're going to be learning about something called converting degrees to radians. So right now we've been doing everything with the circle with degree measurements. So now there's another measurement that deals with circles, and that's going to be called radians. And so that's what we're going to be jumping into today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is exactly what is a radian. So right now a radian is the ratio of the length of an arc intercepted by a central angle and the radius of the circle. So to be blunt, right now if I have a circle and if I take that radius right here, which is represented as r, and let's say it was like a noodle or something that I could lay down, and I actually took that radius and I laid it down on the outside of that circle and laid it down, that segment is the same length as the radius, so that is known as 1 radian. And so right now if I actually put those all the way around, 1 radian is actually going to be 2 pi. So if I did 2 times pi, that would actually be 2 of those all the way around. Okay, half of the circle is 3.14, which is going to be 3.14 radians basically, and then I'm doing that all the way around. So with that being said, if I wanted to transfer from radians to degrees or degrees to radians, this is how I would do it. So right now, if I am given the degrees and I want to multiply over to radians, I would then take the degrees and multiply by pi over 180. So again, radians, if I want to find that, meaning I'm taking degrees and changing it to radians, I'm going to take whatever the degree is and multiply it by pi over 180, okay? So now if I want to find radians and transfer it in degrees, so right now if they give me a measurement in radians, I'm going to multiply the radians by 180 over pi, and that's going to end up giving me the degrees. So basically that's how I transfer back and forth in between degrees and radians, okay? So we're going to take this info and apply it to our examples, and hopefully you guys can understand how to do this. So right now in my first example, it's asking me to convert 75 degrees into radians, okay? So right now, I know if I want to take degrees and change it into radians, I'm going to take whatever the degree is, and I'm going to multiply it by pi over 180 here, okay? And that's going to end up giving me what my radians are. So again, my degree is 175, and I'm going to multiply that by pi over 180, okay? So if I wanted to leave this in terms of pi, I could multiply 175 pi over 180, and then I would just simplify. But if I wanted to get the actual decimal, I would then type this in. So I would do 175 pi divided by 180. So 175 pi divided by 180 is going to in return give me 3.05, and that's going to end up being my radians. So ladies and gentlemen, my radians would be 3.05 in that instance, okay? Let's jump over to example number 2. Okay, so right now on example number 2, I've been given my pi over 4, which is going to be radians, and I need to convert that to degrees. So right now I know if I want to go from radians to degrees, I'm going to take my radians, and I'm going to multiply that by 180 over pi is basically what I'm going to multiply by, okay? So whenever I do this, my radians is pi over 4, and I'm going to end up multiplying that by 180 over pi. Now, if you look, when I multiply across, my pi's are going to end up canceling out because they would end up being over each other. So then that would be 180 over 4. And so if I do 180 divided by 4, that means that is going to end up giving me 45. So that means pi over 4 radians is going to end up being 45 degrees in this instance. So I went from radians to degrees. Okay, so on example number 3 here, it says the measure of angle G is 126. What is the measure of angle G in radians? So I need to find this angle, which is 126. I need to figure out how many radians that's going to be. So again, I'm going to take the degree, and I'm going to multiply by pi over 180 in order to get my radians. So my degree is 126 pi over 180. And so now whenever I multiply 126 pi, and then I divide all of that by 180, that's going to end up giving me 2.199 is going to be the number of radians that's going to give me. Okay, pretty simple when you're going back and forth. Okay, now last on example number 4, it says the measure of FD is 0.78 radians. What is the measure of that arc in degrees? So again, if I want to go from radians to degrees, radians, I have to multiply by 180 over pi here. And that's going to end up giving me my degrees. So I'm going to take those radians, which is 0.78, and I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. So 0.78 times 180 over pi would end up being what I'm going to do on my calculator. So I'm going to do 0.78 times 180, and then I'm going to divide that by pi here. And so that's going to end up giving me roughly 44.69 degrees is going to end up being my answer there. Okay? So as long as you can take those forms up at the top of your paper and go back and forth in between degrees to radians, you should be fine. If you guys have any questions or need any help on that skill check, just let me know, and good luck.